Words were often not enough to describe the scenes of last week as the deadly flooding caused by Hurricane Harvey displaced thousands. Many homes were damaged or destroyed. Same is also true for apartments. What does it mean for the rights of those displaced? What is the balance between the obligation of apartment owners and the rights of apartment renters? And who makes the final decision? Joining me this morning to talk about renters' rights and the ways to get concerns addressed are probably the two best people I could possibly have to talk about this subject. Howard Bookstaff is a partner with Hoover Slovacek law firm focusing on commercial and residential real estate, landlord, tenant, and condominium law, and is the general counsel of the Houston Apartment Association. Professor Rick McElvaney is clinical associate professor, the program director for the Center for Consumer Law at the University of Houston Law Center and the Texas Consumer Complaint Center. There's a lot going on, both of you dealing with a lot of issues that deal with what we're talking about right now. Thank you both for coming in. By the way, I will tell you that we will be doing a Newsmakers Extra with these gentlemen because there's simply not enough time to address the issues in one segment. What were your thoughts when you saw the damage going on from the storm? Both of you deal with these issues. What were you thinking about?
Well, first of all, thanks for having us on. You know, it was heartening to see, as everyone has said, about the compassion shown by Houstonians with Houstonians. Any neighborhood in certain parts of town, any neighborhood you drive down, you see now the aftermath, which is all the stuff on the side of the road, and people are helping out, and it's really nice. And I know everyone's trying to get to a sense of normalcy, and I'm sure Rick agrees. In our business, we try to get there some way by using the laws at our disposal. You
had to know that with what was going on, that there was going to be an uptick in what you do.
Oh, definitely. You know, when I saw what was going on, my heart went out to both the landlords and the tenants, everyone in Houston, property owners. It's just the sad situation, and everyone's injured in this. There's not just tenants or just landlords. Everyone's you know, affected by it.
How do we find the balance between the obligations of the property owners and those who are renting? And when it gets tricky, when you have this kind of catastrophe, emotions are raw, it maybe makes it a little bit more difficult sometimes?
Yeah, I look at it like from a landlord perspective, you want to exercise your rights, but at the same time do so in a compassionate and having some empathy for the people that are being displaced, the people that are being told you have to get out because there's simply health and safety hazards that have to be removed. And I'm asking residents to be don't panic. Landlords will show compassion. Landlords will work with you as long as you are responsible tenants and communicate with your landlords.
What are some of the biggest complaints you've seen up to now?
A lot of them have to do with the rent. If the place is just totally unusable, that's probably the biggest complaint we're getting. I have a place that I can't use at all. Is rent due? So that's the main question I'm getting. One of the things I advise everyone to do is first talk with the other side. Talk with the landlord or talk with the tenant and see what their position is. It may be different from what you think their position's going to be or what the law actually is. We've had some complaints where landlords actually stepped up and helped people even beyond what the law would require them to do.
What happens in the case of rent being due? What's the responsibility?
Well, it starts with the lease, okay? So if you have a lease, and most residents in town will have a lease, is the lease going to be terminated? And what the law says is if the premises is totally unusable for residential purposes, either party can give written notice and terminate the lease. If the lease is terminated, then the landlord is going to, after the termination date, is going to obviously remove all the things that are left, or either by the eviction process or whatever. So before that time, we need the residents to do the responsible thing and try to remove all their stuff. Now, many landlords who had water in the first floor units are hiring these restoration companies to come in because their first thing is to inspect the unit to see what they have to do, and then they're going to remove items that are subject to health and safety hazards, which they usually have the right to do under the law and the lease. What are those items? Is that the question?
Yes, coming up.
Yeah, and so that's going to be a call based on the experts on site.
So, Rick, if I'm an apartment owner, if I'm living in that apartment, I'm told, okay, I got to get out and everything's terminated. Is there a concern about what I can go back in and get?
Yes, of course. People want to get different things that are really, sentimental to them, pictures, anything that's not ruined. People want to get back in and get those things, even if they terminate the lease. I think the other flip side of that is the landlord wants to get in there and get things that are just totally destroyed. Wet mattresses, food that has been in a refrigerator that's just, the refrigerator's not on. So the landlord wants to get in and get that stuff out. Tenant, of course, wants to get as much of their property out as they can salvage.
Who's the arbiter on this in terms of when you have the renter and the landlord and they can't agree? Who makes the decision? What do you end up having to do to get it resolved? Is it court, or can you resolve it before then?
Ultimately, it's going to be the court, but nobody wants to go there. The residents don't want to go to court. The landlords don't want to go to court. My mantra this last week and a half has been communicate. There have been residents that have been displaced by the flood that during the flood or before the flood went to Dallas, went to Austin, went to San Antonio may have been a question, but they went other places. Keep in touch with your landlords. There are many communities that have resident portals. Use the resident portal to communicate. You might have an email, you might have a phone number. Telling the landlords the same things is that nobody wants to evict anybody. Everybody wants to work with the resident, but we got to have communication from the resident saying, I'm here, I can show up at this time, I can look through my stuff, I can tell the restoration company what I don't need and what, thank you, they're going to remove it for me, that's terrific. Work with people.
Rick, I've got a question for you. I'm going to save it for after the break.
Okay.
A viewer of ours she has a particular issue. We're going to have you answer that when we come back right after this break.